Just got done doing North-South Colorado. This is a 600-mile self-supported race through Colorado, so tons of elevation. I think it's like 50,000 feet over the course of the whole thing. It's also a course that's really mixed terrain. There's a lot of pavement, but there's also a lot of single track and really chunky double track in spots. So yeah, I thought I'd just go through my setup for anyone who wants to race this in the next couple of years. And yeah, just talk about what worked and yeah, just go through it. Starting with the bike, this is a Specialized Epic 8 Evo, size large. It's mostly stock. The main thing that I swapped out was the front fork. Wanted to go with something that would fully lock out and also left the steer tube uncut. That way I could run a Fred bar to mount the aero bars onto. Other than that, swapped out the tires. Went with some new tires this year, running the Vittoria Peyotes in a 2.4. I think they probably were pretty good. Something a little smaller would have been better for the pavement, but I really liked how these rolled on the gravel. Definitely felt like a safe option. Good puncture protection, all that. Yeah, going to zoom in just a little bit here, just to kind of talk through some of the stuff on the bike here. We got some Profile Design aero bars set up, and then various mounts and whatnot up here. Probably worth talking through lighting, actually. Running 2 Phoenix lights. These mounts are both from Hefe Bike, if you want to check them out. They worked out really well. I like running 2 lights for redundancy, and then on the back had 2 also just small rear lights. All of these are chargeable via USB-C, which is pretty convenient. Yeah, also maybe worth mentioning with the cockpit setup up front, I really like having everything nice and centered and in line. And so got the aero bars, got a quad lock mount for the phone, got the GPS up here, which is mostly just running maps the whole time, and then have a water bottle mount that goes to the top cap of your stem by King Cage. Thought this worked out really well. Also for water, have 2 mounts on the fork legs. The mounts are from Tailfin. You could also get away with like hose clamps or something. And went with some pretty burly bottle cages that really don't let go of bottles. I think Arundel makes these. And then also added some extra shock cord to prevent the bottles from popping out. I think that's it on the bike setup. Yeah, just kind of going through the bags one by one. The overall setup is geared towards not having to open bags when you go to like a stop at a gas station. So the back bag and the front bag don't really get opened during the day much. So these were the bags that I was opening pretty frequently. Also worth mentioning, I was not wearing a backpack at all. Everything I was carrying is here on the bike. I did have a standard kit, was wearing like bibs and a jersey, so I did have jersey pockets for food and water every once in a while. But for the most part, I tried to keep those empty. So yeah, so probably the bag that I was in and out of the most was this Tailfin top tube bag. This is the big boy that they have. It's the 3 liter. If you zoom in here, there is nothing up front now. I typically just put food inside of here. Started the race with this packed to the gills with gels and other sugary stuff. And then throughout the race would just replace this with stuff from gas stations. So yeah, so nothing up front now. Elsewhere in the bag, though, we have a wall charger, and for power, had a relatively small battery bank, and that was it. Everything on the bike is chargeable via USB-C, so that worked out really well, and I was pretty careful with battery use. I didn't use my phone very much, and so I was able to get by with just this guy. Definitely running it a little close. I think that having maybe 2 of these or a slightly larger battery pack would be better. For reference, I think this is 10,000 milliamps. All right, also in here, I got some chamois butter, a couple of spare Axis batteries. Only needed 2 total. I never used this one. Got a reflective vest. I absolutely hate putting this thing on, but it is important to be safe, especially if you're out on the road at night. Because I hate putting it on, I make sure to pack it in a place that's super easy to access. Like if I had to dig through like the bottom of a frame bag for this, I would just never put it on. Got some chain lube, would throw this on at gas stations if I felt like the chain needed it, and just wipe off the chain with like a paper towel or whatever. And that's it for this bag. The next bag that is the easiest to access is the frame bag. So in the main compartment here, kind of stuffed up here. Oh, this frame bag, I made this one. Trying to fit a frame bag to a full suspension bike is a little tricky, so going custom I think is typically the best route. So yeah, so stuffed up here is a Patagonia rain jacket. Can't remember the model, but this guy's pretty packable. Has a hood, which can be nice just to put under the helmet. And yeah, most of the time I didn't need it though. These are some of my favorite pieces of gear. I've had these for like 10 years. I don't even know what brand these are. These are some merino wool leg warmers and arm warmers. I typically put these on at night or early mornings, and definitely also slept in these. These are an important component to the sleep system that I use. And then, let's see what else we got. Oh, I got some full finger gloves. Put these on if it got a little bit cold. Didn't wear them too much. And then way down here, I actually never had to use this guy. This is kind of the like, you never want to open it repair kit. Got a charger for Axis batteries. Got a spare spoke. Lots of bits and bobs. You know, pocket knife with needle nose pliers, some super glue, some vulcanizing glue that works well for tires. Got a spare link, needle and thread, patch kit, duct tape, a bunch of spare bolts, a spare cleat in here, a bunch of zip ties in the bottom. Never had to open this. Ended up having a really clean run. Speaking of repair kit stuff, there are some other common things that you would want kind of at hand. Again, never needed these, but running the Wolf Tooth, I think these are called the In-Case multi-tool. So this guy has a multi-tool with bits that pop out and stores really well in the handlebars. In the other handlebar, I'm not going to take it out. It has a chain breaker if I needed it. And then also, this is one of the cooler features of this bike. If I unstrap the frame bag here, we have some down tube storage where I had a full-size tube, a second full-size tube, and pull this guy out. Some more repair stuff, kind of very like tire centric. So pump, CO2, tire lever, and that's it. So yeah, a bunch of repair stuff that I never needed. Had a clean run. All right, I think, and then on the other side here, in this bag, more items that you want to be able to easily access quickly. So sunscreen, again, super annoying to put on, so I make it as easy to access as possible. I packed a bike lock. If you were going for speed, you could maybe leave this at home. This gives me some peace of mind going into certain gas stations, especially if you have to like use the bathroom and you lose sight of the bike. Had some makeup remover wipes. These are really good for getting sunscreen off at the end of the day, and you feel just so much fresher. It's great. And then, this was a new one for me too. This is just a collapsible grocery bag. This was really nice for running into gas stations. You could just kind of go in, grab, Gatorade bottles, Red Bull, pastries or whatever, and not feel like you're having to balance everything. This worked out really well. Last for kind of like the access quickly during the day. So I was running this bag up front. The primary thing up here is this 7-liter dry bag, but this Revelate bag that mounts to the air bars, the coolest bag. Has these side pouches that are about 1 liter each. This guy on the right is empty right now. I typically ran just food up in here, so this would kind of, shrink and grow throughout the race. And then on this side, I had things that I wanted to be able to access quickly or just keep an eye on. Used a Garmin InReach Mini 2 for tracking. This guy's great. Way better than a Spot device. With Spot, you have to keep it oriented facing up the whole time. With this guy, you could just kind of jam it into a pocket, and the antenna seemed to always have a great signal. I liked having this at hand just to confirm that it was on and make sure that it still had battery life. Also in here is a Platypus water filter. This is just one of the kind of squeeze ones, so you fill this guy up in a river, attach this onto it, and then squeeze water out of it. Again, you just want stuff like this to be super accessible so you can stop very quickly when you're gathering water. Also in here, some repair stuff that I did want very quick at hand. So I have some Lezyne tire plugs with one kind of ready to go. If you can catch a puncture, well, I say it's ready to go. Yeah, here you go. So it's kind of one of the big boys. Ideally, you want to catch a puncture as quickly as possible when you're going to plug it. So just had this guy at the ready. And then kind of to back that up, had a CO2 with a head kind of like partially threaded on. So the idea is if I got a puncture, pull this guy out, plug it real fast, twist this on, and then reinflate the tire. Okay, I think that's it for the easily accessible stuff. Yeah, that just leaves the 2 bags that I tried to access as infrequently as possible. So in the back here, I had my sleep kit. So this is a 7-liter bag with a restrap harness. This is part of their like race series. Really nice, really lightweight, felt super secure. Yeah, I like this bag a lot. So in here, got a synthetic quilt. Don't even know what brand this is. This was some cheap one off of Amazon. Come back to that one in a second. And then the only other things in here are a Outdoor Research bivy with a Thermarest Neo Air pad already inside of it. Packing like this is not great for volume. It ends up taking a little bit more space, but it's so convenient to just take this out as like one unit, lay it down, and inflate at night. I've had some nights in the past where you're like totally cracked, you're trying to get some sleep, and faffing about with like the bivy separate from the pad with like wind blowing can be really annoying. So just having this as one unit was really cool. This bivy is definitely bigger than or a little more substantial than like an emergency bivy. You can totally zip yourself in this one, which turned out to be relevant. The first night got rained on pretty heavily, and this kept me basically dry. It's a bivy, so you're always going to be a little damp on the inside. That's why I like using a synthetic quilt. Even if this thing gets a little bit damp, it's going to be fine. And in a race situation, you're never going to be laying out your gear to dry, and so the next night it's probably going to be a little damp too, so this stays warm. Okay, that's it in the rear bag. Only opened that one time each day, at night and in the morning. And then last bag up front is another 7-liter, and in here had a down jacket. Slept in that guy, rode in it maybe once. These are some down booties from Feathered Friends. These are so comfortable. They kind of work as camp shoes a little bit too, and especially if you're using a relatively cheap quilt, these can really punch up the warmth of things. Had a pillow. Again, if you were going for speed, maybe this is the kind of thing that you wouldn't take, but my thought is if you're gonna stop and sleep, you want it to be as high quality as possible, really make those hours count. So pillow was nice. Little toiletries kit. Again, racing, you probably don't need this stuff. Deodorant and just a little toothbrush and toothpaste. This is actually maybe necessary. The amount of sugar that you're eating at these things is pretty gross, and it feels really nice at the end of the day to brush your teeth. Also have a t-shirt, some shorts, some underwear, and some dry socks. I would totally change my entire outfit to sleep, and in theory I could also ride in this if I really needed to. I think if you were really going for speed, you could cut that out, but changing out of, super like sweaty, salty bibs feels amazing at the end of the day, and I think it makes your sleep that much better. So yeah, that's everything. Is this the fastest setup? No. I thought this setup was really fun, and I would totally do it again. I've done this race before on a gravel bike, and it's probably faster, but I thought this was better. It ended up actually being faster for me. Did the race this year in 3 days and 9 hours, which is my fastest time so far. And yeah, wouldn't hesitate to run the setup again. That's it.